Hello, what's up? This is Junchan, and we are back on stream for some more Purescript. So let's go right into it. Okay, so last time we were continuing to think about how the three-layer cake pattern could be applied to what we're looking at with our prototype as a sort of architectural pattern. But basically, it seemed like maybe instead of sort of expanding to the whole architecture, I would benefit from zooming back into specifically how to wire external events with the PureScript React Explorer example, because that's something that's actually that exists for DOM events, but as far as I can tell, not for external events, especially not external event that would, for instance, be hooked up to the monadic DSL. So we want to explore that. And so the idea is to just focus on the counter example that we have. I've commented out some of the code that is not related to the counter, and then try to do basically an input event and an output event. An input event being a clock tick, and the output event being a console log. And the first way we'll try to layer this or hook those is through the FRP Event Library. So let's start the parcel and reload here. It usually takes a while for the first build. I'm not sure why. Let's look at the code. All right. So this is where we stopped last time because we were having some type mismatch here. So if I comment this out, this should actually rebuild and I suppose compile properly this time and display the counter maybe. No, not quite. So is there another error here? Also no. UI container and just see, yeah, and render UI. So this should work. So let's see what's going on here in the console. Data non-empty, function non-empty, not a function. Okay, that's quite strange. Okay, I might want to rebuild. So let's rebuild manually. See if some other error pops up. Too many open files. Okay, so let's retry. Seems like it built. And no, still a problem. So what's up with non-empty? It's not clear. Could it be because of some of the new modules that we've added? So of course, difficult to, I say of course, but could we have source maps? I don't know. Let's see if not importing FRP event will actually change anything. It does not. Here we do we do distress pre with ink for increment, we build code free with the counter, and then we explore the counter. Okay, let's try and bisect a bit. Okay, still an error. So I think maybe we need to remove the output and the dist and rebuild. Okay, apparently rebuilds instantly. That's a little bit strange. also rebuilds pretty much instantly, and then nothing here. Strange. And output, and dist, and parcel cache. This is a directory. Oh, okay. I'm a bit embarrassed. Spago build. Okay. So this could be because of the IDE doing the rebuilds and maybe not knowing exactly where to add things. Okay, build succeeded here. There we go. Okay, so it was some corruption of the cache somehow. Okay, so we have our counter, and now we want to hook things up. So one thing I was trying to do here was to create basically a top-level subscription, which would hook into the interval, which is an event, an FRP event, and then for each time received every 1,000 milliseconds or every second, I would just increment. The fact that I want to be in this scope is that I want to have access to send, and also I want to have access to count, I suppose. Well, count is actually less of an issue, but I want access to send. So I'm trying to think about how this will play out later, but I think this is okay. But basically, we need some kind of lifting to occur here if you want to be able to basically have both. Yeah, I've commented out the event and interval. There we go. Now we have type mismatch because UI is actually a React element, and we want to lift into effect here. So how do we lift? So let's choose, maybe go to Purescript, which I suppose I should have open somewhere. We can probably let go of all the, this I might want to keep, and smash maybe as well. 3-layer cake here I can remove, and this is community QI. Franco free. This has nothing to do with anything that we're looking at today. And junctions. I was looking at Slick. This also has nothing to do with what we're doing today. This neither. And then it's loud. Not plain. Makes me think I need to open up my dashboard. And get myself some water as well. So I think React element is from this library. Yeah, Purescript React. And so let's just double check. UI is in the end a React element. So how do we oh, I suppose we use maybe a hook, or if not a hook, at least a lifecycle event, which is when the component mounts, maybe. How do we do that? Need to look at an example. Maybe we would need a high-level library for that, though. But then the DOM bindings, and then some React example. Okay. at the example. To-do item, for instance. So React, so that's a React class, not a React element. Let's see if anything higher up. So that's the JS file. Main, so React class, let's double check what React class is compared to React element. This is actually proper React here that I'm blanking on, but React class constructor, a component, a class constructor, and return the React class. Okay, and React class, React class for components, and that's a foreign import. And is React element also a foreign import? It is. So I think, yeah, there is some transformation to be done between elements and classes, which are all Reactisms that if I could, ideally, I'd not go back into understanding. I suppose the question is why here wouldn't that be a React class? And then what's the wrapper around it? So UI, given that we do get a component here, I get created with pure component, I think. And then a class. And Explorer gets past the component. So space actually at some point is used here for its for mostly its comonad, but at some point we must be extracting the content of the comonad, either here or there. I suppose render must be returning an element. Isn't that what's going to be the case for a pure component? Pure component. Let's see. Pure component takes a string, which is React Explorer, and a function, which is a React class constructor, and returns a React class. So the React class constructor is something called React this, which is this. So it's this is a function, and it returns an effective record. And yes, indeed, that's so possibly here we're in the effect monad, I believe. So so we could do our subscriptions here. Let's just, this is obviously not something we really want to do in the end, but let's try and wire this here, just so that it at least does something like, so let's actually just comment it out here so we don't lose the context. And here, let's instead say that we'll console log. However we do this in Purescript, which I forget, Purescript log show, yeah. Log show time. And then we'll import FRP event as event. And then we'll import interval from FRP event time. Except that didn't work apparently. That's it didn't work. Okay. FRP event time, and let's import the whole thing. And that should not be like so. And then log show should be from effect class console or effect console is fine. And now we have aha. So what are you saying here? So we actually need to pure this. No. Is it that we're, oh, maybe, okay, let me, so we're taking an event, A, which is this, and then second, something that returns an effect, and lock show takes an A and returns an effect unit. So that should be fine. 1 second. Okay. Right, what was I saying? Yes, so that sounds like the right type. So why is this extending also? Oh, because there should be some duplication here. And then this has a type, a result of type effect unit was implicitly discard. Oh, yeah. So discard is actually not an issue. So, oh, is this just a warning? Purescript no instance found. Let's try the type of discard. It could be that we need to wrap this into another pure. And then discard it. But yeah, I'm not sure why it wouldn't discard automatically. But okay. So I think I need to do pure in order to execute it, but who knows? I certainly don't at this point. Let's reload. And so clearly our counter doesn't get executed. So, or like I don't see console log happening here. So the subscription doesn't work apparently. What if we do so? And there we go. That kicks in. Okay, so we're not completely lost. So it is possible to do a top-level event subscription in the explore function, which is it could be just a consequence of using Purescript React. The fact that after that everything is render, meaning it should be pure apart from that state hook, leads me to think that we will not succeed in trying to put it elsewhere. So that's obviously problematic because it means that what does it mean? Well, it means that if we want to have something that has access to send, well, it won't. So we need a global send basically, because this send is local to the component and it's really only used to, it could do effects, right? Like we could console log, I believe, here, right? Because this on key up here is effectful. Yeah, it's awaiting a a synthetic event to effect unit. So I could obviously lock show here if I wanted, right? That would be fairly easy. But all right, I need to do, I believe. Yeah. And then if I click here, I would get a high. Yeah. So that works. I could, so on the key up, which is arguably, this is actually in some sense at the same level as this, because it's managed by the Purescript React framework, who does wire the on key up for us. So if we want the rest to stay pure, then we don't really have a choice. And this send here, especially if we want to, I mean, if we want to output something, then it's fairly easy, right? But if we want to hook to subscribe to something that's coming from outside, then we're not in a good shape, because this UI is not going to allow us to do that. So now I have a question though. Handler in Purescript common-adic to do has an effect monad here, and then it's like base here. Let's take a look at it. I believe we should have some of that, if not in experiment, then maybe in libraries. That would be strange, but no, yeah, it is in libraries. So here in UI in React, no, in UI, I think, yeah. Handler base action is base action to base unit. So actually it's base action to base units, yeah. So that leads me to believe that potentially, I was trying to understand this, because this base action here, what does it gain us? Because it's a value we receive from the outside. So where is that being hooked? Allow for execution of monadic actions in the base monad in response to every user action. So that sounds like it's a common-adic combinator. That's interesting. The handling function has access to the current state of the component as well as to dispatch action to which it responds. So that sounds like basically not sure. Okay, let's take a look at counter actually. And what do we have here? Yeah, we have something slightly simplified. We have on click and just send, which is nice type-wise. I'm not gonna lie. And so that's, since send is this handler-based action, then it means that somehow we've simplified things. But then I suppose that potentially this combinator effect could be used somewhere else. I'm not sure where actually. Would it be in the main? I doubt it. And it would be really EffectPrime. I think I might head back to Arthur Xavier's thesis. PDF thesis. And see whether we can grok EffectPrime. And if not, And then let's look at it again. This takes a function from a component to a munit base unit. So some kind of callback, which is called f. It passes it the next component action, the component itself, the action, so the component at the next time, and then some action, and then you can do whatever you want with it, with the handler. So it means I could wrap, in theory, it means I could wrap counter here, like let's say app component, into a, actually, this is me already doing quite a bit of modifications. Same here, in fact. Were there even examples here? There would be, right? Because this is Purescript Commodity UI React Basic. So where's the main? That's test main, right? There's no source main? Or did I just get rid of it? I might have. That's maybe not the smartest. Let's just open that up. Purescript, common UI to-dos. And let's go to source. Yeah, there was a main. And all right, like it also tries the 3 different approaches, and apparently I got rid of all of that. Not sure I should call it. Oh, okay, yeah, it's not to-dos, it's just recommended UI React Basic is how I changed its name, trying to put this framework into some kind of library. And EffectPrime, well, first of all, doesn't search properly. I don't think it's going to work better if I put, yeah, definitely not. So maybe we just clone it into the experiments folder. And then we grab for EffectPrime. And it's not there. But since we have it, let's actually Spago build. And let's try to, is that, no, it's not using Spago. Yeah. Okay, well, let's npm install. Let's see if we can get that going. Okay, not a lot of stuff. And then there's Bower. So Bower, I don't think I have Bower installed. npm -g Bower. And then Bower install. Oh, apparently we have some discrepancy with a couple of things. That is going to be terrible. Nothing's going to work, I believe. So we have, so we could make build, I suppose, but there's no, oh, there's no pulp. Yeah, so I think pulp is npmi -g pulp. but we're going to have discrepancies with Purescript version and other things, I believe. But let's try. Build. Yeah. Yeah, type is one of the things that I think was coming up, like type level prelude. Yeah, that's going to be too tricky to sort out, except maybe if I take what I've done here, which should be pretty much exactly exactly what we want. So maybe it's not completely cursed. Simple JSON. Okay, we can maybe find that in the suite somewhere. Simple JSON. Okay. And then I suppose we would need to Parcel also. I think we need to Parcel HTML and index.html. Right. But yeah, we would need to what npx Parcel. How about that? Yes, sure. Might need the double dash here. So I want to play with EffectPrime, right? See, because this might be the combinator we want. It sounds like it's actually exactly doing composition. It could be that it only works in one direction. It could be that we're just stuck in trying to get effects into the event loop. But it sounds like this would allow to wrap a component into or add some kind of callback that that at least deals with actions. So, but this does not work. I see, maybe because of the version of Parcel. Let's see if we actually even, that's UI. Here, do we, yeah, we're supposed to have 2.0.0. What's the version we've downloaded here? It's not clear. So maybe we npm install -- save dev Parcel at, yeah, we just do that. And we see what version we get. Two zero zero beta. Okay. Okay, you don't find that. So we want to probably export path equals node modules dot bin. Yeah. And okay. Did I mean that? No, I did not mean that. Cannot notify index.js and HTML. Right. That makes sense. I suppose we can link to we need to have some index.js, right? So we need to create the index.js. I think the browserify did create it for us. In our case, we can just do the import of, we can do so, here, paste, or new file, index.js, and then I think we don't want test.main, we want main. So how does that work now? Better, but what are these things? I see, created by, okay, yeah, we don't care about that, I think. So, and which port are we on? This port. I see, so apparently that doesn't make us happy. Well, I mean, if it's really just a footer, then just comment it out. Sounds better. There we go. Okay, not bad, not bad. Pretty happy about being able to build that. Okay, so then it means now we can hack it a bit. We want to try out EffectPrime, and we need to pass it a component T. So let's pass it maybe one of those guys, right? So main. So task, which one is a component? I think actually these guys are components. So I could even wrap them here, and maybe that's what we'll do. So let's do EffectPrime, and here we'll want some thing that takes two components and then returns, or two arguments, and then returns. Let's go and open the EffectPrime. It would be in source UI. And unit and returns base unit. So we'll return pure unit. We'll pass it the second component. And then that's supposed to return a UI. It takes a component, but it returns a UI. So probably that's not what we want. Also, there's both effects and EffectPrime. Let me just double check that we haven't missed an actual use of effect somewhere. Source main effect, no, that's not used. To do persistent, but that's not the same. Effect, UI effect here. So we are using it here. Okay, so UI.effect, taking a component. Is it the same UI, or is there another? Because there was a strange thing that, so no, it is the same UI, I believe, but it is this effect, and in this case, indeed, we only take one component, so that's why there's only one argument here. Okay, so that's fine, but why is it only in the store example and not in the others? And is that the case? So it's here, UI effect, in the app, but it's not here. And then the question is why, and has this functionality not implemented in the other ones, or is there something else going on here? Yeah, check this out. Here, we just do persistent save inside the send hook. So that was my intuition, is that possibly in the onSubmit here, we could do persistent save and we'd be done. So what's really the use of doing it like that? And also, so in this case, it's passing store T. I mean, there's a bit of a complex thing going on here, right? What is this? No definition found for this. That's from control command. I see. And that is also from control command. That's what is meant by doing the commandadic, that it's a commandadic combinator. And I remember when I was more fluent in this style and I had looked more into Comonad, then this, which I think is extend, was a little bit more clear. I had developed an intuition of what that means, but I've lost it since. So what do we do about it? Well, for now, I think we can just accept that it's a commandadic combinator, which means that it has this type, I think, like component T, takes a component T and returns the UI base. So it should mean that combined with extract, it actually kind of works. Trying to understand how this works though, because store T blah, actually, hold on. This is store T and then all of the rest is inside parentheses. Or am I, okay, we need a little bit more space here. Yeah, so this extend with the task component, which is the inner component, is not the same as this extend, which is commandadic combinator, but with store T. I need the type of extend. Should control? No. Extend, that's the guy. Extend flipped. Okay, well, you could have the type, no? That'd be nice. That's in Purescript control. I don't think we're using that. So I think this has its own control command. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's, where is it from then? From Purescript what? Oh, maybe it is from control. Control command. Could it be with an older version? We are getting here 13.8, so it could be that it's an older version. I mean, there's not a lot of chances that this will improve the docs. And it doesn't indeed. So let's just go check out the source code and try to understand what that means. Extend flipped. Okay, it's extend flipped, so it takes this. And so if we go there, then we write the type of it in a comment, then it would be something like so. So we take infix L. It's just a sensitivity, right? Yeah. So, so I believe this is the WA, and then this becomes a function from WA to B. or this is supposed to be a function of from WA to B. And so in the same W, and with the store T monad, how can we just oh, because it's a UI, and a UI is a function from a handler to an A. Oh boy, that is hard to read. Okay, effect takes a component, takes this hook, this callback, and a component T. Where is the component T? Here. I think it's not there. So therefore, this is a function of component T base WMA to UI base and unit A. So that's our WA to B. So WA to some B such that we get out the WB. So that means that our WB is something like a result. WB is something like component T base WM of UI base M unit A. But that's assuming that store T is a component T based WMA, or the reverse, meaning that we're somehow doing a transformer stack. And so let's see, store T. Are we actually, yeah, we are extracting things from the store T monad into the UI, from the store T monad into the UI monad. And React component is actually not what we want here. React component is this. Boy, this is hard. And the W has a store T in it, and the M has a state T in it. So when we get the store T in the WA, and how do we get a React component at the end? When things are wrapped into store T. Because if this monad, if this is WA, then W stays all along. So we should still have store T at the top. But here we don't. We have React component at the top. It's a UI component T. But we do have a stack of store T and React component though here because of the render inside store T, although it's extended. Yeah, it seems like I can't really wing it without getting back to understanding comonads a little bit more seriously. Which arguably, if I'm trying to do something that has a comonadic stack, then I should do that. Yes, it is true. So this is not check assumption, is brush up what comonads. Brush up my comonads. Um, mm, do I need to do this though? Because here, what I see, I mean, I will need to do it, but maybe not now, because if we pop the stack, I think what we see here is that either you use a monadic combinator to sort of have this hook, this callback, which is going to get the component at every step and then can do something effectful at every step. And so that's great for I suppose, a global callback, a global event hook that should fire, I suppose, for every event, right? Allow for execution of monadic action in the base monad in response to every user action within the component T. Yeah, so it's kind of a top level hook that will allow us to do side effectful things at each action. Doesn't answer the input side of things. Um, Input signals, input functions, console standard input. UI ref, forever UI ref, counter, read IO ref with value from the reference. Yeah, print it to the console, reads a line from the console, and writes that, or increments the value of the reference. Yeah. Yeah, that's all well and dandy, but doesn't really apply to us. Prompting input, data console, counter component. Move to next state when of user input. Display the current cursor value. Okay, so a text and an action. Ah, check the UI component unit. That's data represent declarative interface. Let me define a declarative user interface in the console as an infinite loop of displaying a text message to the user and prompting for input. So okay, so that's, I suppose, is a way to specify a data type that will stand in for a console. And then apparently here we just pass some sequence of things like rendering sequences. apparently. Like we asked to render different things, and then render takes an integer and then return the UI. And what is the UI type here? Okay, yeah, so it is this the one that he settled on later, which is right, the handler of munit to base unit. So no return type here, and to A. Ah, interesting. So slightly different than what you landed on here. Actually, there's no action here. So it's just UI is just base, and M is different from base here. Interesting. Don't know if all this is significant. But apparently then what's happening is that, so that component, this is a little bit strange there. Is it like conceptually a infinite stream? Right. So yes, this is pseudocode and this is the actual code. Move to the next step. When of user input, it sends next and when there's an input. I'm not sure what that means. Suppose next in the, what is next? Do we have next here? We don't. So that does sound like, this is interesting because this does look like an input hook, but it's not really wired to the real world. And so really what it is it's fairly similar to the effect hook we were looking at right here, which is it awaits for particular input, which is the component state in this case, and then does some effects, which in this case here is sending something. So in that case, it's more like here, right? Like it has the model and then does a send, and then the send does something in the it could do something in this case. I think it does something in the effect monad. Right, but what it does is I think it returns something in the comonadic language. Create tasks. Action. What is action? Oh, there's too much indirection there. It's the more. So let's look at the code-free one. Oh, the code-free one actually does use an effect hook as well to do the saving. Whereas here in the send, we do some effectful things, but ultimately we return something in the comonadic language, which is the app action language, which in this case just synchronizes the UID. Or there are several things like that are in the app action unit, in the app action monad. And the app action monad is the pair of the app space comonad. but I suppose there's a few things to see here. One is that this is a local, this actually, even though its main purpose is to output something in the monadic language, it can also do side effectful things. Although if it does, then what prevents us to subscribe here, right? When we were playing with our browser chronofold, then why couldn't we just subscribe? Was it just a case of not having the void properly? No, we can't. Oh yeah, I'm mistaken. It's not here that we want that it is. It's here. And if we do it here, then we obviously it's a problem because now we're subscribing at every turn. So here we could output. We can do an output effect here, but we still don't really have a place to do our input effect, to register our input callback, basically, right? In a way that allows to wire things also in the monadic language if we want to. So we still don't have that. And the only thing that the R6 implementation adds to that is the possibility to register a hook that will not be local to the event hook, but global to any event change. That you could say it's a post hook actually, because this hook is input. Then we could do a pre-action effect. And then once we've sent the action, then I suppose is the moment where, in fact, we would then receive, would then be able to do a global effect. So I think in order, it will be first output this, first do maybe, so yeah, in order. One, maybe I should write this down. In Purescript monadic UI to-dos. P.onChange, like so. React event hook at a subcomponent level, like p.onChange, event send do callback. Can have a pre-monadic action side effect, a monadic action pure. It's a pure. It's kind of a pure effect, to be honest, but that doesn't really make sense. But it's a monadic action in the action DSL, and then component level effect component blah callback, which I think is executed after any monadic action in the component. Let's reread the doc. Allow for execution of monadic actions in the base monad with access to the current state of the component in response to every user action within the component. So yeah, I think a user action will be something like, oh, we receive an on-change event, so we output a user action, and then poof, we get that component state change. So past, which is why this is move component action, I think, which is the next component, which is going to be problematic if that's not memorized, by the way, I think. Or we also have access to the current state as well as the dispatch action. So then now F also gets the action, which would be therefore either change field value. So we could pattern match on the action to then do further fine-grained dispatching with EffectPrime. But those are all post effects. All of the input wiring is done with React here. So how do we do subscription of other things? Maybe subscription would be the good subscripts. Yeah, no. Events handler. We call these properties event handlers. Action to which produce IO value when there is. Using a monad for managing the state of an application, we have so far all the elements needed to define general model for user interface components. So is that, what is that? Is this shenanigan there? Not sure. Not sure. Let's see. Event handler, set effective monadic action in the base monad. Event handler. Also noticeable is the fact that event handler, such as the on-click function, takes IO actions as arguments, which are executed. The corresponding event is received. In this example, then, when the user clicks the button, the state of the component is updated. Your component may be interpreted as a store, comonad, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Yeah. So I think it's not in the framework. I mean, it's not in Purescript React Explorer, and it's not in Common-ID QIs. The only way that events are hooked is through sort of the DOM event handlers in a component hierarchy, but there isn't anything top level that I can see to register effects or whatever. We load the UI, and then we pass render UI into active. This is an initial loading side effect. So here we could do external subscriptions. Oh, look at that. EffectPrime is used here. How come this didn't show up when I grabbed? Didn't I grab here? I was pretty sure I grabbed. EffectPrime. I did get it, but I didn't see. Main is not showing up. So what's your edit person showing up at main? How strange. Don't see EffectPrime, despite the fact that it's right here. Oh, you 30 minutes ago. Dude. Okay. Sorry. Okay, but that still stands. It means that at the top level, at application loading, we could register hooks. But if we register hooks, then how will we then I think it depends on where we use ToReact, basically. Because here, since we do ToReact of the commonality component, and we don't have anymore an effect monad position to do the registrations. Okay, so actually, I think maybe that makes sense, and maybe I can fix things here then possibly. Although we don't use ToReact here, we use unsafe create leaf element, and we do explore. Yeah, so there's a number of things that are slightly different here. What does this mean? Does this mean that ideally I would do counter and I would do the unsafe create leaf element outside, such that I would that's a little bit tricky. Sometimes it's just doing render UI here. It takes a React element, so no, it's not really that. There's no really easy spot. is one answer to that I'm looking for, I think, here, because in the other implementation, I feel like even in the other implementation, it would actually be hard to move the spot because we need to push down this ToReact, but ToReact is takes the React component and creates a React element. But then it's really related to something like load UI, which in this case is just effect. Look at that. Yeah, of course. I mean, this load UI thing is specifically created in order to have some monadic value in effect and then return the pure UI component, which is then passed to render. And I think it's feasible at the top level. I think we will pull our hair if we try to do it at the lower level. Okay, so so we have slots for we have sophisticated slots for effectful behavior at various level of the component tree, as long as they are output effects. It seems that to wire input effects, i.e. subscriptions, we need to do this at the root. And what makes me say that is because once we call to React, or in our case, explore, we have a pure comonad value, pure comonadic value. So the only place where we have effect showing up is in this event hooks, right? So it's so the only place where effect shows up is in these React DOM event hooks. Okay. Do we still want to try to hook it up that way, just to finish with something that satisfies us? I mean, we kind of did, didn't we, when we hooked it up in Explore here, we actually did sort of hook it at the top of the hierarchy inside Explore. There must be another place where we could hook it up. It would be maybe just right there. But then to do it like so would be fine, right? It's just logging, but we don't have any, so I suppose that's another thing to show it. But even if we hook it at the root, we don't have a way to wire monadic actions in the DSL, in the action DSL, right? So we can do something like subscription for events, and let's just verify that this works. If we reload, yeah, it works. And we could just convince ourselves that it really works. And trying to get the automatic action to resolve here, but I'm failing. Okay, and it works, as we see, works. Okay, so I think I'll stop here. What we'll do next is, yeah, we'll think a bit more. About how to wire input effects, i.e. subscriptions. And because in React, we could possibly do it with component lifecycles, which is kind of how it works. And I suppose that it would not, so yeah, in React, we would do it with component lifecycle events or hooks, right? So I did have the idea to try and do a Purescript comonad UI React Basic hooks. So maybe we get back onto trying to write a Purescript, Comonad, UI, React, Basic, Hook. Why would we do this? Because that would offer granularity over subscriptions, or modularity, let's say. We could have a component that subscribes to a particular thing, could sort of localize that effect, hopefully meaning also that we could wire things in. If we have several DSLs for different components, we could wire that specifically for the local DSL. So that's granularity. Granularity would allow to subscribe and write monadic actions in the local DSL. Unfortunately, that means we're still biased towards the component hierarchy, driving even data flow declarations. And that I don't like. So, and it seems like the way to escape this would be to decouple more the component hierarchy and the event subscriptions and production, which I think leads us to the ECS model. So if that's the case, then maybe that's a Purescript comonadic UI ECS or something. And maybe we need to take another look at Purescript ECSs, or maybe how to wrap around like the Mozilla one, XE. And take some inspiration from the Haskell ECSs. But I need to convince myself that that's true. And that would mean that we'd basically be able to do things like this, right? We'd define little systems that just encode responding to one particular style of outside effect, and then triggering some particular DSL. That would be part of its type, and everything would kind of be gathered wherever we want it, and those things might be able to do side effects as well, outputting effects, and having this granularity means that we could fake putting it inside the component hierarchy. I mean, with sort of like equational, like referential transparency, maybe we could move things around so that it looks a bit like if it was a component hierarchy. So everything is so granular. But it depends a bit how we'd model the whole UI tree. And so I think I'm a bit wary of just going all that route with ECSs. There's nothing that also tells me necessarily. I mean, maybe we'll add a row to that slide for commodity QIs. I think this could show up commodity QI. This good old slide. Maybe we add something here, something ECS. We find the correct pattern to do registration of queries and like a granular encoding of um, actions. But maybe also we look at halogen, to be honest, and maybe that needs to happen first because that's a big gap. And I suppose I should probably try halogen before writing my own ECS. Right? Okay. I'm thinking a little bit about structure here, and maybe I'll put this in the log. And I also didn't do my housekeeping properly today. So now at least I suppose this is all copied. Yes, it is. So we can maybe go back in time for a bit here. I think it was something like this. Okay. Then in the log, what we could say is that, where are we? Where's the streamer overlay? Right. Look at this halogen. Yeah, there's a case like maybe it's more kind of educational. Maybe that's a whole other chapter. Maybe there's this kind of the way in which I've been gathering the different streams into this kind of broader project, even though I haven't talked too much about this yet. Or maybe that's content, right? That's content to be at some later point produced using this suite of tooling, but until then used with regular tooling, but still used as kind of paper prototypes for the whole thing. So maybe that would work into kind of content. Which I can, first I'll put the idea here. The idea is to do a series for different Purescript UI frameworks. SDOM we've tried, React Explorer, Commodic UI, and then Halogen, and then maybe others. So we've tried that Purescript React Basic, hooks, Purescript React Basic, and Purescript React Basic hooks. So there's a bunch using a simple example as the thread. That could be an interesting series, right? And the simple example wouldn't necessarily have to be so simple. It could be timer plus console log or something, right? Plus, so effects, like, okay, let's, so effects, actually, this is a script, by the way. It's not really a script, but it's kind of an agenda, I suppose. So we could have effects like input ones and then output ones. And then we could have sort of simple like DSLs, like action DSLs, like, and then we could have, yeah, probably we want something like persistence, I think. And then we could have things like refactoring, like that are more kind of like day 2 or day 1, like refactoring and extending, and maybe even yeah, like, I don't know, But that would be quite cool, right? And so this would be paper prototype to use as examples for semantic production. Let's call it like that. Powered by iOS, right? Okay, so that's my thoughts for now. So it means we'll probably dive into halogen next time. So that's the reason why I also thought about this idea of doing a series. That we've been really moving through different frameworks here, and if we're going to try halogen, then we're trying one of the most famous ones. And it's a little bit sad that all of this is basically right now buried into like the 21st part of this broader prototype thing. So it could be that extracting from there something that's more of a series would be useful. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching. I've been Junchan, and well, I might see, yeah, I'll see you on Saturday, which will be my last day in Madrid, and then after that, I'm back in Berlin. So see you later.